Hello and welcome back to the World News here on TVP World. I'm Anna Kalczańska. Parliamentary elections are underway in Kosovo, where nearly 2 million of eligible voters have an opportunity to cast their ballots until the polls close at the end of the day. The vote marks the first time since Kosovo's declaration of independence in 2008 that its parliament has completed a full 4-year term. Prime Minister Albin Kurti, left-wing self-determination party, which won this election by a landslide 4 years ago, is currently leading the polls, but not enough to form a government without potential coalition partners. Its main challengers are the Democratic Party of Kosovo, which includes politicians facing war crimes charges in The Hague, and the Democratic League of Kosovo, the country's oldest political party, which has struggled to remain its former influence in recent years. The Serb minority is guaranteed 10 parliamentary seats, with another 10 reserved for other minorities. US President Donald Trump has spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin on the phone to discuss an end to the war in Ukraine, the New York Post reports. In an interview aboard Air Force One on Friday, Trump has indicated that the two leaders have spoken more than once on the topic. Earlier this week, the US president said that he would likely meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky next week to discuss peace talks. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine started on February 24, 2022, and will soon enter its 4th year. Trump has been vocal about the need to end the conflict and promised a detailed plan to do so during the election campaign, but has yet to reveal any details. Speaking with the New York Post, Trump stressed that he has always had a good relationship with Putin and that the Russian president is also looking to end the conflict. The power networks of Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia will be synchronized with European Union systems via a connection with the Polish grid at 1 p.m. sharp, Central Eastern European time on Sunday. The process began on Saturday as the 3 Baltic states disconnected their electricity systems from Russia's power grid, switching off a historic Soviet-era legacy. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is due to speak at the ceremony later on Sunday, which will also be attended by the presidents of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland. The 3 countries stopped buying power from Russia following the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine nearly 3 years ago. Sunday's connection to the EU network follows a series of successful trials on Saturday, testing the Baltic grid's stability during potential interruptions. Donald Trump's victory in the United States should be a blueprint for populist politics in Europe. That's one of the main takeaways of a conference in Madrid of the far-right Patriots for Europe alliance in the European Parliament. Leaders of far-right parties gathered in Madrid under the slogan "Make Europe Great Again" to discuss strategy and to rally their lines. In speeches, party leaders like Marine Le Pen of France's National Rally and Prime Minister Viktor Orban of Hungary argued Trump's victory means their brand of politics has broken through the mainstream. Far-right parties have been making strides in many European countries and have even become the largest single political force in Hungary, Austria and the Netherlands. There were also calls to halt aid to Ukraine. And tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets across Germany in protest against the anti-immigrant far-right Alternative for Germany party. 2 weeks ahead of the parliamentary elections, the AfD is currently polling in 2nd place. At least 250,000 people gathered in Munich, far exceeding the organizers' expectations. Similar peaceful protests took place in all major German cities. Activists say that the rallies were intended to draw attention not only to the AfD, but also to other far-right parties in Europe and the new Trump administration. The protesters also spoke out against Friedrich Merz, the CDU leader and frontrunner in the upcoming election, for sending proposal to the parliament for tough new migration rules that received the AfD's backing. Critics say that the CDU broke Germany's unwritten post-Nazi promise by all democratic parties to never pass any rule or resolution in parliament with the support of far-right nationalist parties. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia is now increasing its army by more than 100,000 troops. According to Zelensky, Putin is preparing to continue the war, and the intelligence indicates that Moscow is now creating new divisions and developing new military production facilities.
We know now, our intelligence reports to us, that the Russians are creating new divisions and developing new military production facilities. Obviously, their cooperation with North Korea will continue to expand. Unfortunately, Moscow is also spreading modern warfare technologies to that region, including drone technology, and this means a simple thing. Putin is not preparing for negotiations, not for peace, but for the continuation of the war. And not only against us, against Ukraine. He is now increasing his army by more than 100,000 more soldiers. All partners must know about this and must see it. We are ready to pass on the relevant information, and the relevant communication is already taking place through the intelligence line.
Ukraine has so far received over one-third of 155 pledged German-made Leopard tanks. Ukrainian soldiers trained on the vehicle are generally content with its performance.
Initial training on the Leopard 1A5 tanks took place in Germany. By now, the tank has seen combat action at the front. This driver has completed missions in the Kharkiv region and says it handles it very well.
It goes 30 kilometers per hour in reverse. Our tanks, the Soviet ones, can go up to 15. The equipment is light. It has an automatic transmission. There are no levers. There is a steering wheel like this. You drive and turn it. Gas, brake, and that's it.
The main role of the Leopard is to fight concentrations of dug-in troops and personal carriers, but it can occasionally go toe-to-toe with heavier Russian tanks. Drills, such as the ones shown here, are vital for coordination and combat effectiveness.
This is a great vehicle. We learned to work from closed firing positions on it ourselves. We hit the enemy's armored personnel carrier and even a tank, though it was already stationary. It's a pretty effective weapon.
It is expected that more Leopard tanks will be deployed to the Kharkiv region as they come in.
We plan to begin the exhumations of Polish victims in Volhynia this spring. Ukrainian's ambassador to Poland, Vasyl Bodnar, announced yesterday. The ambassador gave a preliminary date and place for the first exhumation works in the Ukrainian village of Puzniki in Ternopil and confirmed that the official permissions have already been granted. The exact start of the exhumation remains uncertain as it depends on weather conditions. Vasyl Bodnar said that the efforts are underway to identify other sites where the exhumation of Polish victims will take place. The search is being conducted on both Polish and Ukrainian territory. The Ukrainian side is partially financing the exhumation work on its territory, but the main funding is coming from Poland. Thousands joined protests in Belgrade, Novi Sad and Niš on Saturday in support for students, teachers and other education workers. Parents and primary school teachers have joined the protesters in Serbia. It has been nearly 100 days now since the roof collapse at a railway station in the Serbian city of Novi Sad, a tragedy that claimed 15 lives and sparked the largest protests and crisis in the country. The organizers of Saturday demonstrations said its goal was to highlight issues in the education system. The widespread protests are drawing attention to the fight against corruption and government negligence. To Paris now, where the French President Emmanuel Macron will receive Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the Élysée Palace on Sunday evening. Their meeting comes on the eve on an artificial intelligence summit that will bring together heads of states, CEOs and other stakeholders in Paris. Organizers hope the event will spark an European AI awakening following a recent US declaration that it will pump $500 billion worth of investment into artificial intelligence. The two-day AI Action Summit aims to establish scientific foundations, solutions and standards for sustainable cooperation in the field.
Canadienne et internationale. Les discussions aujourd'hui qu'on a eues à la fois sur l'Afrique. Merci beaucoup.
Now, the first round of presidential election is underway in Ecuador, just 18 months after the last vote, and in the midst of an unprecedented crisis in the country. The voters can choose between 16 candidates, including incumbent Daniel Noboa and his main rival, Luisa González. Noboa took office in 2023 to finish the term of his predecessor, Guillermo Lasso, who had resigned, dissolved Congress and triggered new elections to avoid impeachment. The son of a banana tycoon presided over several crises during his short term in office. He has declared several states of emergency, deployed military units to tackle gang activity on the country's streets, and began construction of a new maximum security prison as part of his war on gangs. Noboa's main rival, González, who is a close confidant of the former leftist president Rafael Correa, has also promised to take a tough stance on crime, crack down on drug trafficking and re-establish the Justice Ministry, which was closed in 2018 to reduce public spending. And that concludes this edition of World News. But please stay tuned to TVP World. We're coming very soon with next issues.